Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good week. A lot of applications in. Hopefully we'll get some contracts coming in behind them. We got some good loan activity. One thing I'll probably do this at the end, but it is officially time to start thinking about the people that you did loans for when rates were highest, and potentially reaching back out for refinances. So just something to keep in mind as you guys go forward. There is a way in Encompass for you to see when somebody is officially eligible to refinance without it affecting our prepayment penalties. So what I mean by that is, for you guys who don't understand, we are on the hook if somebody refinances before they make, depending on the investor, as few as 4 payments or as many as 10 payments, but usually it's 6 payments that they have to make to that loan that we sell, or we owe the money that we were paid for that loan back. And so what we want to be wary of right now is we want to make sure that if there are people that did loans at 6.375 that can now 7.375 that can now get a loan at 6.25, and that loan makes sense for them, great. We also want to make sure that they've made those 6 payments. So then we do this new loan, we're not giving up all the revenue we made on the original loan. So there's a way for us to see that in Encompass. Dave is going to go over that with you guys towards the end of training, I think, although I don't see him on the call yet.
I'm right here.
I don't see you. Maybe I had to change my view. Sorry.
I can show it to you real quick right now. I have it up.
Go ahead, do it. I don't know.
So if you guys just open your regular view, it should be right here. It's called the date eligible for refi. And it will have the loan that you had, and then when it's eligible to be refied, and that is when we could actually, so this day, 5/13, we can close on 5/14.
So it's not origination, guys. It's closed. That's the close date.
Yeah, so we can start the application. We can't close the loan until that day. So it's super easy. It's right there. If you guys have custom views that you guys have set up, a lot of people probably have custom views they have set up. I know I do. You just right click on this. You just right click on any of these bars up here, custom columns, and then you can just type in what you're looking for. And then you'd be looking for the date eligible for refi, and you could add that into any of your views. So you have that in there. It's super easy. If you guys have any problems or any questions, or if the date's not showing up, just send a Genius Bar an email so we could look into it. I have seen where a couple of them weren't showing up. And they won't show up if they're way past. If it's already way past, when we did the update and we went through all the data, if it was already eligible for refi, the dates weren't coming in for that. So if it's a blank date and you closed it 2 years ago, obviously you can refi the loan. So
anytime they've already made it, if they've made at least 10 payments, you have nothing to worry about.
Okay? That's not actually 100% true. We do have a couple investors, or one investor that
Mark said it. Mark said it.
Who's the
We can't
investor?
take it back.
Do we know?
I can look. I don't.
Isn't it Planet Home that requires?
Yes, we've been Planet, and we sold a decent amount of loans to them for a while. So there are some that are 12 months.
Take a look. We'll figure it out. The date should be in there, but keep that in mind as you go forward. But yeah, you guys should be really. You should have anybody that you closed the loan for that was 7% or higher. You should already be thinking about your contact strategy for staying in touch with them and letting them know when they're eligible to refinance and they'll do those things. As the rates continue to go down, and I think that we will see rates going down into the mid 5s, low 5s, depending on between now and May, unless something else happens, you're going to have more and more borrowers that you're going to want to flip. So for each, if you did, if they're, this is the opportunity where, yes, there weren't a lot of loans that we did in the fall and in the winter, but if all of those can turn into 2 loans for you, and then we can get some spring ramp up, this is the real opportunity for us to have the rest of this year be super successful, right? If we get those refis in. So,
and even if they're not eligible to be refied yet, and the loan makes sense to be refied, it might be worth giving them a call and just saying, hey, listen, I'm keeping an eye on your rates. Rates come down a little bit. It's almost time for it to make sense for you to refi. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I will be calling you and, going over everything when it absolutely makes sense. You're probably you might get some calls from other companies trying to force you into some things. Don't be silly. Give me a call first. Let me make sure that everything makes sense for you before you do that. Because there are going to be companies out there that are going to have, their call center people going in for $250, going in and just trying to refi and try to make a point, and you're going to feel that pain. So make sure that you guys are doing that. It's worth your time to go through all of these loans and do it. Schedule some time and go through them.
The other thing is, right, even if you have people that you talk to in the fall and the winter that didn't go with you and they went with somebody else, but you know they went when rates were higher, those people are worth reaching out to. Anyone that you know that bought a house in last fall are people that are worth staying in touch with right now. So the difference, if you can get one extra refinance per month this year, you're talking about adding another $30,000 or $40,000 to your annual income, right? If it's two, it could be as much as 80. And so if you aren't already thinking about this year, and but I'm not saying you should spend a ton of time on it because you still should be doing new realtor relationships. Those things are sustainable, right? But do not be silly about this. Do not miss those opportunities, and don't let those people refinance if they're your clients with somebody else, because they will. And this is something that will be a continuous opportunity if and when rates continue to drop. Be smart about it. Put a strategy together. Get your spreadsheet going. Make sure that you're engaged there. So just wanted to get that out this morning. All right, guys. So we did just make sure I have the right. Okay. Thank you guys for coming. So yesterday we talked about digging for pain. Okay. And we talked, I went a little bit farther than I normally would go with the digging for pain conversation because I can't help myself. I knew we'd lead into today, but we're going to summarize this with today. And I am going to put scripts together for this over the next couple of weeks. The only issue with this is I'm the only person who can do it. And I got to find the time where I'm 100% focused without distractions to write this stuff out, because I want to make sure that we get it right and we're thoughtful. But essentially we're going to script out everything from, hey, we're getting in touch with these realtors, to those initial phone calls. We already have the questions that we want to ask to build the relationship. Now we're going to add the digging in for pain questions. And then here we're going to go to the sales presentation. Okay.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah.
if you don't have the time, you should probably time block it to do it.
Yes, I know I don't know what I want to not do instead, but I appreciate it. If you want to come with me and look at my calendar and tell me when I should do it, I will do it. Right now, it looks like it's going to be Sunday morning. So we'll see what we can do. But there's no football this weekend, so I got no excuses, right? So guys, this is where we have an opportunity, if we do this correctly, to completely change how this realtor thinks about their relationship with their loan officers. Okay. So what we should have come out of yesterday's training with in our conversations for digging for pain is a very specific list of things, hopefully, that this realtor would like to see from their loan officer that would make it a rock star experience for them and for their clients. And we should have that list written down, and we should have kind of trial close on it, which is, hey, listen, man, I have no idea if I can get this stuff done, but if I go back and talk to my team and I can get it all done, is there any reason why you wouldn't start sending us deals and we couldn't have a really successful relationship working together? They're like, dude, honestly, that would be amazing. If you can do all that stuff, I'm so in, right? And again, because we already have the relationship. We did that part first. Now we got into pain points, and now we're going to presentation. Now, again, how much is this relationship worth? We're thinking on average, these realtor relationships, if you have them for 5 years, are worth a minimum of $180,000 to $100,000, right? And so we want to put together a presentation that's worthy of that financial opportunity, right? If this is a single point of sale, and you knew if you got it or didn't get it, you'd get immediately that $80,000 or $100,000. You'd take your time and make sure that you got it right. Unfortunately, right now we're kind of rushing through this. So we're going to put together as a template for this, but I want you guys to understand the principles of it first. So when we get back into our presentation mode, a couple of days have gone by. What do we know about the human brain right now and our society in general? It's very distracted and people forget what's going on. So we lead back into it. Hey, how are you? Really enjoyed working with my team on the situation. How are things going? Great. And then I want to recap everything, right? And we're going to do this in writing, and we're going to do it verbally, right? So, but in writing, we're going to go, here, well, actually, in the writing, we're going to do differently. Verbally, I'm going to send the proposal. I'm going to go through it. We discussed everything. These are the things you wanted to accomplish, right? Right. Great. So the first thing is we're going to create a service level agreement, or an SLA. Okay. So our part of the SLA is going to be to do all of the things they asked for. So they asked for, hey, I want to know when the appraisal is ordered and when the appraisal comes back. Great news. Me and my team have built out an automated process where you will be alerted when the appraisal is ordered and when the appraisal comes back, right? You get that right. Awesome. That's amazing. They wanted a once a week phone call on Tuesdays on all files they have in process. They want an update. Me and my team are going to call you every Tuesday. What time works best for you? Write that time into the SLA, check mark it off. And you're going to go through one by one and check off these things on the SLA as you go through them, right? What do they want? They want, when they introduce you to somebody, they want a 4-hour response time where you're going to reach out to the borrower and introduce yourself. I promise I will reach out to your borrowers in 4 hours of the introduction. Even if it's just to tell them that I have to call them back later because I'm busy. Good, great, check it off. We want as many things as we can get on that list. And even if they seem super basic, even if they're things you've always done for every borrower and every client, if they ask for them, you want to list them and you want to put them down. And the bigger the list, the better. These are your commitments to that realtor, right? And at the bottom of this, there's going to be a place for you to sign it in the relationship. When you get to the bottom of the list, you're going to have service level agreement for what the realtor is going to do for you. What do we want in that section? What do we want from our realtor partners?
Exclusivity.
Maybe. Yeah. What else? If you were going to train a realtor for how to make sure that you get their borrowers, what would you tell them to do? If the realtor's like, listen, Fred, the most important thing in my life is that all of my clients go with you. You say, cool, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, here's how you make that happen. What is the process? Don't all shout it out at once.
I tell them to ask the buyer if it's okay that I call them. Don't tell the buyer to call me. Say, can I call them? So I tell the realtors, just kind of throw it out there. I'm going to have Beth call you. Blah.
Send me number and check that I can call. Confirm I can call. What else? What else do we want?
I want them to answer the phone too when you call.
Okay.
Or a text.
What's a reasonable response time from your realtors?
I think 4 hours.
4 business hours response time. What else? Man, I can think of so many things.
What about the social media platform? You know, I mean,
Stay with me. Just stay super lasered on this right now, and then I'll get to it.
Yeah.
But I don't mean to. But the realtor comes to you and says, "Mark, Fred, Brett, my number one priority in life is to make sure that all of my clients go with you. How can I make that happen?" What are you telling your realtor to do?
so I'm saying share every post on social media that I have. I don't. That could be.
I
We're
would
just
say
talking about the process.
create an SLA where the realtor is responsible for having them apply on our link or connecting us via the phone or text message or something.
Cool. You didn't tell that realtor how to do anything just now. You just told them they're responsible for it. What are they supposed to do?
Do you want to provide them a script?
Connect us.
Say that again.
Connect us together.
So I want a text message introduction.
Correct.
And I'm gonna put in this SLA exactly what I want the message to be. And we'll talk
Correct.
about that in a minute too. What else?
Yep.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah.
there's one thing we do with one of my agents, and it seems to work. We do a 3-way call right away. When a client reaches out to her, she says, hold on, let me put Jose on the line. And then we set up the appointment right there.
Some realtors may not be comfortable with that, but if you can get it, I think it's an awesome way to go about it and do it. 3-way call. What else? What else is a potential thing for our SLA? Guys, you're missing like the most obvious thing in the world.
I tell the realtors, hey, tell them you'll show them a couple of houses to prime the pump, but they got to get pre-qualified with me before you go show them. Now, do they do it? No, but that's what I tell them to do.
Okay. What else? My number one mission in life is for you to get all of the business, Fred. What do I do? Holy shit. Put this one on YouTube. This is a moment. Hey guys, they need to hype you up. They need to tell this person why they should be using you. They need to have a very specific script. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, The reason why you should use Fred is I've worked with him for 10 years and he's never missed a closing date and always, and he's honest with my clients 100% of the time. Even if he can't do the deal, he'll tell you who can and where to go. That is the kind of thing you want somebody to say. And you need to know what your brand is so that brand promise is coming through to that client. So that client knows with real value why they're calling you. You guys in this situation are relying on the realtor to convince this person to call you because I said sucks. Why are they calling you? Why are you the best? Mr. and Mrs. If I'm a borrower and the realtor's like, you got to call my guy, I'm like, are you getting a kickback? No, you got to call my guy because my guy or my girl is the best. And here's how I know, and here's how long I've known them, and here's their reputation. Here's how long they've been doing it. Here's what Princeton Mortgage does. Here's their reputation. Here's their Better Business Bureau score. Here's their customer service scores. Here's why they have the best reputation. Here's why they're the fastest growing. Whatever the thing is you need to do, you need to have a script for your realtors to hype you up. And they don't know what to say. You know how I know this? Because I do presentations and my wife will do the introduction and she doesn't know what to say to hype me up. So there's no way your realtors know what to say to hype you up. Does this make sense to anybody? I'm seeing a lot of weird blank faces. You guys should be mad at yourselves right now for not getting that, and or mad at me for being as fired up about it as I am, one or the other. Everybody should be a little bit pissed off. You got to give your realtors the script to hype you up. You got to say, hey, listen, you're going to introduce me over text and you're going to make sure that it's okay that I call them. And then you're going to tell them that I'm the best loan officer you've ever worked with and here's why. And you got to know what your why is, why people are working with you. You got to come up with that script for you. That has to be in the SLA. You get to the bottom of this SLA. There's a place for you to sign. You've already signed and you sent it. I'm committing to, I'm going to do all of the stuff that we listed here for you. Are you willing to commit that you can do the other stuff here listed for me, at least until you don't want to anymore? And then you can tell me to throw this away. You can end the relationship at any time, but until then, I'm going to do this for you. You're going to do this for me. Do we have a deal? How many of your realtor partners, if you go through this, and again, I'm not, listen, only ask for the things that you want. By the way, if you have them asking for 9 things and you're asking for 3, and they can see that on a piece of paper, it's gonna be really hard for them to say no. So only ask for the things you want, and then list everything they've ever asked you for in their section. Right? The psychology of that is really important. I worked with my team for the last 3 days. I'm going to give you everything you asked for. Here's a list of it. Here are the 3 things I want in return. Do we have a deal? Cool. The psychology of that is a completely different realtor with a completely different thought process with their clients moving forward. Your capture rates will radically change if your realtor is introducing their clients to you the way that you want to, saying the things you want them to say, and doing it with a time frame that you've already agreed to. Why are we not already doing this? Not a trick question. Why aren't we already doing it? It's not because we never thought of it, although that might be one reason. But why else?
I think we just took it for granted. I thought just figured that would happen anyway.
Yeah, we are so bad at this game. I did a training for realtors yesterday. And I go in and I'm always like a little bit nervous that like they're going to know some of the stuff I'm coaching on. So like I asked them at the beginning, like, how many of you guys have written down goals for this year? 2 people raised their hand in a group of 12. And I was like, never mind. No one here knows shit. I was like, how many of you guys have ever had a goal planning seminar before? No one ever had any coaching on how to set goals or anything else. Most of these realtors have been in the industry for 10 plus years. We give people too much credit. Your realtors aren't thinking about you, don't really care if the business goes to you, and have no idea the best way to make that transition happen. A few of them are super business savvy and get it. It's 1 in 20. They don't know what to do. They need a script. They need a playbook. They are going to appreciate you doing this. We don't do it because either we don't have the real relationship with them to do it. We don't actually know what they want. And so we think we're just as bad at it. We think we're delivering value or what they want, but we're hoping kind of what we do is already what they want. We never have a real conversation about expectations. And so everyone's always a little bit irritated, a little bit annoyed, and there's friction in the relationship. Even when it's a good relationship, there's friction. What we're saying here is, this is what you want. I'm doing it. This is what I want. You're doing it. We both commit to doing it. No more drama, complete clarity. Your realtors will love this. More importantly, your ability to be the professional and walk them through this will attract them to you. They're lost. They have no idea. They're not setting goals. They don't have selling systems. They don't have a process. You're giving them a process. By the way, go read your copy of Ninja Selling. You can give them their own process for their entire sales process. Become their coach. Help them build their own processes, right? But we have a way, and now we can help them have a way, and they will be attracted to working with you. You are now the adult in the relationship. They're going to be attracted to you because in their head, they're going to be like, man, this guy's really good. This woman's really good. She knows her stuff. This is a cool, this SLA thing. I didn't even know what an SLA was. Now I have one. This is amazing. So what do you want me to, this is what happens when I have these conversations. So Mark, what should I say again? I start writing it down. They're not getting any help on their process from anyone. So I run into two kinds of realtors. Ones who are like really always seeking information. The ones who are good, by the way. They're always seeking information, so they have some sort of a process, but it's never clearly defined. Or the ones who have just been doing it a really long time and are so good at it that they've built a client base overall, but they don't have a process for this stuff. And then most of the other realtors are flying by the seat of their pants. And they're afraid, by the way, to actually recommend you. They won't say it to you. What happens is like, so do you have, they'll be like, do you have a pre-approval from somebody already? And the person's like, yeah, I do. And they're like, great. And then they move on. They don't know how to handle that conversation. Instead, you say, awesome. Just so you know, I have somebody I recommend. I've known him for 10 years. I've been working with him that time. He's the best loan officer I've ever worked with, and he's never done run by one of my clients. Is it okay if I have him reach out to you? Sure. Do you mind if I do an introduction over text? Absolutely. I'd love to shop around and get another offer. Perfect. That's the script and the conversation. How many of you guys have had the people who already refer you, who already have agreed to refer you, have you had a conversation with the best way to refer you? You guys having those conversations? Brett says yes. Diana says yes. We want to put it in writing. We want to make it easy for them and for them to know exactly the best way for us to get that business. My guess is a few of you guys probably have MSAs or lead deals where you're buying leads with somebody and you still haven't figured out exactly what the introduction process should be. So before I'm giving anybody $1 towards anything ever, we better know what our process is. It better be written down and ironclad in terms of what our agreement is. And that includes when I'm going to stop buying leads with you if it doesn't work. Questions about this process? Please have questions. Don't be scared.
What if they say, and this is the typical answer, I give 3 names out.
Why?
I have to give 3 names out. I hate
Why?
that. Right.
Why do they have to do it?
They're taught that. I just know
They
that
are
that's their
taught that.
response. We can't steer. We have to give them options. That's what they're taught, at least.
First of all, you can't steer if there's something in it for you. You can absolutely recommend one person that you think is the best. And anyone who tells you differently it's just not true. If there isn't a financial incentive for that realtor to work with you, then they can absolutely be like, hey, this is the best person I've worked with. That's not steering, right? You can give a list of 3 names of information and just say, just so you know, if I was you, this is the first person I would call. Do you mind if I introduce you over text message? What they're really saying is, and that the realtors who are saying that are saying, I don't think there's that much of a difference. I don't want to get involved. I don't know if you have the lowest rates. And some of those realtors, by the way, are so like they don't understand the difference in service levels, even though their business is built on service, by the way. A realtor never wants to talk about their price or their commission. It's everybody's got to make their money. You know, no one wants to give a discount ever. That's not their, it's price is never their value. But for you, it somehow should all be all about the rate. The service shouldn't matter. Well, the service does matter in this case. And so you say, listen, you know, if you're uncomfortable saying this person's the lowest rates, don't. Just say I'm going to be the most responsive and I'm the one you've liked working with the most. Because if you're going to ask me for all of this stuff and I'm going to do it, you're already saying to me the other people on this list aren't doing it, or we wouldn't even have this conversation, right? We discovered you're in pain, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor. You have pain. The reason you have pain is because you're willy-nilly about who your borrowers are working with. How much better would your life be if all of your borrowers were using the same loan officer that you knew, liked, and trusted to do a really good job? I can't solve your pain if you can't recommend me.
In regards to the steering thing, Paige, if you've been doing it, have you ever run into anybody with a construction, a builder, right? They're like, if you use my builder, if you use this loan officer, then you're gonna get $10,000 off the purchase price or whatever it is, right? If that's not steering, then what they're doing, somebody
Right.
can use 100% not, right? So like that's how you have to think about that. That isn't a real thing.
It's just, if you believe that there's a difference in service levels, and by the way, you clearly do, because we just went through all these things that are your pain points, and I'm saying I'm going to agree to them, then you have to agree to recommend me. Otherwise, I'm doing all of this stuff for you in the hopes that I'm going to be 1 out of 3. Because no one calls the 3 people on that list. You know what happens if you give people 3 names on a list? They call somebody else. That's not on the list at all. That's what I would do. Oh, what you're saying to me is you really can't recommend anybody? Well, I'm going to go find somebody who will recommend somebody because I'm not playing this fishing in a bucket game. Seriously, I just want to be told what to do, and I want somebody to vouch for somebody that what they tell me is going to be the truth. And then when I call them, I want them to be confident in that they can get the thing done. If I get those 2 things, I'm happy. I don't have time for anything else. I'm not calling 3 people. Are you out of your mind? Tell me which one's the best. Right? Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, with all due respect, your clients aren't working with you because you give them 3 options. They're working with you because they want to be told the best way to get the best deal and have the least amount of stress in their process. They want to make sure that that home closes on the day that they're supposed to close on it, and they don't have to pull their hair out in order to get it done. Am I the best person for that, particularly if I can do the other stuff on this list? And if you're not sure yet, then we don't have to work together at all. I just spent the last 3 days working with my team to uncover all your pain points. The least you can do is introduce these people over a text, right? I don't think you're going to have a lot of problems. I think the reason why you're running into those objections is because we haven't done the first few steps of the process. You don't have somebody with the buy sides, you haven't built the personal relationship, and you haven't uncovered the pain. And so when you're like, recommend me, they're like, why? Because we haven't done the other parts of that. But when we built a personal relationship and this person's told us their life story and told us where they went to school and told us about their relationship with their parents and how they did this as a kid and do those other things, and then we go through their pain points in the process and we solve all of them, I don't know a lot of people who wouldn't feel super comfortable being like, of course I'll introduce you to my buyers. I've never had this kind of relationship with a loan officer before. Anybody fundamentally disagree with what I'm saying? It's because we're rushing our process that we run into objections, right? It's the same thing when I was calling leads in the call center. I always used to say to somebody when we call a lead, you can't sell a loan on the first call. All you can do is cost yourself one. Meaning if you can't, when you're in that first call with somebody, you're not going to get all their information, figure out what they qualify while they're on the phone, pitch that program and get them to move forward. That's not how it works. You need to be able to work up the program, get the information, make sure they're in the right loan, build the relationship. It takes an hour and a half. If you try to sell, do so good a job on the first call to sell that loan, you end up costing yourself the loan. It's the same thing here. We're so eager when we meet these realtors to be like, I can do this and we do this and we do that and we do this and we do this, and we're throwing features at them to try to build the relationship that they don't hear anything else, and we start to blend in with everyone else. I see it with the recruiting messaging that comes to other companies as well. It's like, here's our comp program. It's like, great. The signal to me is that that's all you have to sell. Right? And so that's why the relationship part of this has to come first. We have to go ahead and build those relationships and make these people feel heard about what's important to them before we go ahead and enter into this agreement. Go ahead. Josh, you have something?
Well, I was just gonna ask, because it seems like when we're giving them this script and you're saying, oh, I've worked with them for 10 years, I've never missed a closing, but this interview process that we're having was typically with a brand new realtor that we've never worked before.
Yeah. So again, well, maybe, right? Depending, I think a lot of you guys already have realtors you work with that would be super helpful to go through this pain process with, right? I think actually this is one of the things that we can use with the realtors we already have that maybe we're getting some market share from or not. But if it's somebody brand new, I would start figuring out how you want somebody to sell you. So maybe we haven't been working together for 5 years, but Josh has been a loan officer for 5 years and he has one of the best reputations around. You know, the reason why I like working with him is because he's super responsive and he's never told anybody anything that didn't happen. Never missed a closing date with him yet. Whatever the thing is that they're comfortable saying and you're comfortable having to say, you need to find a way to sell you, right? So whatever you would say to somebody for the reasons they should work with you are the reasons you want the realtor to say to somebody the reasons they should work with you. Right? And so, and whatever the characters are that make you think that somebody should work with you. And if you need help with that part of it, you know, that's something to talk to your manager about. Call me up and we'll talk about what your value proposition is for you specifically as a loan officer. But we need to make sure that we have one and that we can deliver on it. What other questions do you guys have? I appreciate it, Josh. It's a good question. I do think we should go back though and try to do these pain conversations with our current realtor base. What could, because you made me tell you something that they really hate about what you're doing right now that they've never talked to you about before because you didn't have the conversations. We want to dig for pain. How could the loan process be better for you and your clients? Right? What else?
After you have the realtor hype you up, is there a way for them to also like tag it with like some sense of urgency to contact you because of the market heating up or because you're super busy because you're the best in the industry? Is there a way to like get them like, oh, share it, call them today, post it next week or something like that?
Yeah, again, so I think, well, so to Paige's point, I think getting permission for you to reach out to them takes care of some of the speed of that. And I think a text message combination where you're doing introduction over text means that you now have the number and you can do that reach out. I think to your point though, yes, we're in an environment right now where there's a lack of inventory. So if I'm a realtor, I'm saying to somebody, listen, I don't want you just pre-approved. I want you pre-qualified with an underwritten pre-approval. I want a pre-commitment from Princeton so that in the event that we find a house, I have everything I need to put in the best offer within 15 minutes of finding out about it, because sometimes 15 minutes is the difference right now. And so I think that's a great thing to add to your realtor script if you want to create urgency, which is like, in this environment, if we find the right house, we don't have time to futz around. I saw a meme yesterday on either TikTok or Instagram where a realtor was like, the face you have when your buyer finds their dream house and takes 2 days to call the lender, and then you find out they're already under contract with somebody else. That's real right now. If you find the right house, you need to have everything in line with that pre-commitment up to a certain loan amount where the realtor can go in confidence and go, this is as good as cash. Let's go. Right. And so, and that's why I want you to call Alec. Right. And so I think that's a really good point. Yeah. What else? Come on, you guys come to these trainings to learn. What do you want to know?
How do you get them to, because this is a big thing, it's always the sense of urgency after they've looked at so many houses and now they found the house. How do you get them to do that, steer their client to get that pre-certification prior, you know?
Yeah, here's what I would say. Part of my SLA would be after the first conversation you have with someone where they indicate that you're going to be the realtor to either show them houses or be their realtor, you need to be setting me up for that conversation with them at that point, so we're not scrambling when you find the house. Right. And again, and go over all the reasons why, right? I want to have an underwritten pre-commitment from my underwriting team so you can go with an offer as good as cash. And we don't want to be scrambling to make that happen when you find the dream house, especially in this market. And so that part of the SLA should be that they're introducing you from the jump. By the way, part of my SLA back to the realtor will be, I will tell them that you're one of the best realtors that I work with. Give me some things you want me to say about you, and I'll make sure I hype you up so that if you get introduced to that client early on in the process, I can back you up and make them feel really good about the fact that they chose you. So now all of a sudden there's an extra incentive to use me because part of my SLA agreement is I'm going to be your hype person. I'm going to make you look really good. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? So first things is, guys, I'm going to give you guys these 10 minutes back at the end here. Think of the people you already know that you can have this pain analysis and presentation process with. I cannot commit to getting these scripts done by next week, although I'm going to do the best that I can. I got to find the time to actually sit down and do it. And then we'll continue to iterate on them from there. But again, when you're thinking about the entirety of your sales process right now, the first thing is your database. Do you have your My25 locked in? The people that you're either already getting referrals from or that you want to be getting referrals from, and are you treating those people differently? Are you having your 54 conversations each week and interviewing other realtors to see if they should be in your My25? How many of these people do you have a firm agreement with about what they want from their loan officer? Get that pain conversation done. And then we want to get something in writing that says, hey, here's our deal. And again, I'm going to work on putting together what that contract should look like. Here's the deal between you and I about what we can expect from each other in this process. I think the entire value of your business moving forward will be determined based on how many people you have those clear expectations with that are going to be your partners in this business, right? And so we want to really be able to gain that clarity and take that to the next level. I've talked to some other loan officers who don't work here about this process. It's been people look at me like they're having their minds blown. So if you're not having that moment with this, it's because I don't think you're understanding the full impact of what it would mean to have a relationship with somebody that you're putting into writing what each person expects of the other. Try this with your wife or your kids or your friends and see how much the drama in your relationship dissipates. See how much easier it is to get along, or how many things that person doesn't like about you that they're not telling you, right? Ask your current realtors, wave your magic wand. What can I do better with the mortgage process? They might not have answers for you. You might have to dig in 3 or 4 different times, 3 or 4 different ways, right? But search, let them know you really want to know, right? Because they might give you the tip to how they go from recommending you lukewarmly. Yeah, give Diana a call, give Jamie a call, to you got to call Jamie. Jamie's the best. Here's why. How do I get you to say that with confidence, right? Where you're invested in them choosing me. And maybe it is that you're not hyping them up enough, that you're not making them look good. How many of you guys think you're awesome hype people for your realtors when you talk to the borrower? That's a conscious thing you're doing. Should be. If that borrower goes back and says, man, that guy, Jamie, loves you, that's the best thing that realtor can ever hear to make them choose you over and over again. Any last questions before I let you guys go? All right, guys, let's get to work. Happy selling, everybody. Let's finish the week strong.